Come on, I know you're out there. We'll start it. Okay, we can start the narration because we got 3 of you here so far. Wonderful. Good morning and welcome to the Art of Fire. I'm Bruce. I'll be doing the camera and the narration and the old dad jokes and all that sort of thing. We got something special in store for you. Good morning, Joanna, Bridget, Barbara. Well, hey, we got 3 people, and we're talking about the UK, we're talking about Maryland, and we're talking about Germany. Good morning, David Hogan. And that's, let's see, is that Morningside, if I remember? Anyway, we've got something special today. We've titled this episode Anniversary Surprise and Father's Day Gifts. So, if you recall from last week, we kind of skipped the Father's Day stuff because that wasn't just working out with who we had on hand, and we adjusted. And so we're going to make some of those things today. We're showing you some flasks, which dads always appreciate. We've got mugs, a whole variety of mugs. We've got shot glasses, and we've got all kinds of good stuff. And we've got decanters over here if your dad likes to decant a little bit of wine or something like that, okay? But what we're going to start out with, and we'll go down and meet people in just a moment. Yes, David, the dad's jokes are in honor of Father's Day. This is what we call a Fiesta Vase, okay, or Fiesta Bowl. And this is a special piece, one similar to this with custom colors, and it's chosen today because we have some special visitors in the studio today. We've got Jason and Donna, and as we walk down to meet them, I'll tell you that this morning was the very first time that Donna found out that her husband had purchased for their anniversary a custom-made piece of glass. So while we were doing a YouTube video a half hour ago, the 2 of them got together, or perhaps she just got together. It was her. Okay, we know how that goes. Anyway, chose the piece to be made. That's what I just showed you down on the display table. And they're going to be right here in the studio with us as Josh makes it. So welcome aboard and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and if anybody else is interested, we do this sort of thing, and we just thought it was a perfect opportunity to get it on the video and let the world know we do this. And here's Josh.
Morning.
Good morning. Okay, Josh is getting the tools all set up, and let's see, we're going to have a white interior and a multicolor outside.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the frit right here. Okay, is anyone having issues with the sound? We'll have to have reports from the field because even I can hear me just fine, but I'm very close to it. All right, so Josh has got the iron preheated, and so I would appreciate it if any of you out there viewing could go ahead and comment if you are or are not receiving the sound, okay? Because Bridget's saying she had some issue.
And there's a lot of fans going. So
there are a lot of fans, yeah. Okay.
As well as all the people there, all of our other fans.
Yes. So David says it's a little choppy, but Joanna says it's okay in the UK. All right, field trip. Let's all go to London. Okay, Josh has gathered his first gather. Oh, and Theta did comment at a stupid internet. So I did remember to take us off the Wi-Fi today. So we should be all right here and hope it settles down in a moment. So now he's got his initial gathers of glass on the end of the blowing iron. You can see the way the glass moves if he momentarily stops the rotation, that the glass is very fluid at this point. Oh, I like this one. Jennifer Kaslev says, I can hear your wonderful voice, Bruce. Oh, boy. I don't know how it'd go over, but I'd like to take her home with me. I'm kidding. It's just a bad joke. My apologies. Okay, so now he's trapped air in there. No, Joyce is the only voice I want to hear at home. Although while I was working as an air traffic controller, I helped out a couple of private pilots, and they said that it was rather calming. So I can put you all to sleep at any moment. After gathering the frit, Josh has to melt it back in. to make it all part of the surface of the glass. So you can see how it's no longer the small little bits of it. Are you using powder or like a zero?
It's actually a double zero. So
Double zero. Okay. So we have frits in what we call different sizes. So you can see that this almost looks like flour in the white, but in the multicolor, the grains are much larger. So we mix and match them as necessary for the piece. Josh will get that initial setup of the glass fully coated in white so they have a nice interior. Have you guys ever observed glass blowing before or been around it?
Just on TV,
First
right?
time, huh? Yeah, like this must have been quite a surprise, Donna. Okay, great. That's wonderful. Okay, so he's got his third coat of white on, and that going to be about it, or a couple more? He's going to do one more. While he does that, we're going to scamper as much as I can scamper down to the other end and just let Sharon Durney know that she was the winner of the green confetti mug from last week. And those of you that are commenting today will be in the drawing for this shot glass here. And this is Foster's signature series, okay? That's the color combination, the special series of color that he's developed. So now that Josh has got the white gathered up for as much as he wants, you can see that the glass was shaped a little bit odd just from all that bouncing around in the bowl. So now what he's going to do is get it made into a little bit more of a cylinder. Taper it some. Now he's going to clip off a little bit of glass at the end. He had a little more than he needed, and also there was a small bare spot down there. So he clipped that off, and now it's gone, and any shear marks will be melted out in the ensuing reheats. So there's a little bit of mark down in the bottom of it, and that's going to melt out. And he'll be shaping this up and probably putting a little more air in it. So if any of y'all have questions about the process or want to know what's going on, comment, leave a question. General observations also accepted. All right, so he's using the marble to shape. Now he's cooling the tip or the end of the glass so that when he traps the air and blows, he puts his finger over the bowl hole, and now you can see a little bit of expansion down into the piece. The air expands down there where the glass is hot. Now the glass is still warm. If he'll stop turning just a moment, we'll see there we go, a little bit of motion. And now when he resumes the turn, you could see that it was moving on an eccentric. It wasn't turning nice and smooth, but still enough heat in it that he can smooth it out perfectly. Now that it's cooled enough for another gather, he'll take it back over. And Jason and Donna, if you have any questions, you want to know what the heck's going on and we haven't told you enough, just ask. Okay. Okay. So now he's getting the next gather of glass. And he's going over to the pipe cooler. Now the pipe cooler is just a trough with some water in it. And this allows the iron to be cooled down toward the end. But don't worry about your local glass blowers. We don't get burned grabbing the pipe. We like to cool it off further down toward the glass so that we're able to grip the pipe further down. Notice how close Josh's hand is to the glass right now. By cooling the pipe there, he gets a little bit better leverage, and it would also allow him to grab the iron right there. That area would be a little warm, though not hot, without the pipe cooler. If he had to grab the pipe very much further back, it would be more difficult to control and more of a strain on his shoulders. And since he's been here 18 years and wants 18 more, he look at that face. He doesn't want to put unnecessary strain on the shoulders. So that's the advantage. See how close he's got that? Why don't you show us how close you can hold your hands to the glass? So see, he can balance it right there in one hand perfectly fine. Yep. Okay. So a little further back, but still, that's quite an advantage over the midpoint of the iron. Back there, now it's heavy on this end, typical fulcrum and weight. So he'll show us the balance point by putting it in his hand. There's the balance point.
That amount of glass.
Yes, and he's going to get more.
Can I get more?
Just like the amazing Ginsu. Wait, there's more. Hello, Kimberly Stern, and if anybody else has joined us late or just joining us, not necessarily late, he's going to strip the glass off onto the marble. He got a little more than he wanted, and by depositing it right there, Foster's going to grab a pair of tweezers, and instead of a cow pie, this is a glass pie. And what he's going to do is pick that glass up and throw it right back into the furnace. And then we'll have that slab of clear glass will melt in with the rest, and we'll be able to work with it. And if Foster's tweezers get hot, they'll stick to the glass. He'll dip them in some water. And Josh is going to start picking up the frit because his gather is hot. So he's going to do that right now, and as soon as he's got that back to the glory hole, Foster will pick up that slab of glass and drop it in the furnace. He's got a different tool now, so you can see what happens to the tools if they stay in contact with the glass. Here he goes. Beautiful softball form there. Perfect fast pitch, Foster. Into the furnace it goes. And now Josh will continue to pick up the frit. As he picks up that large gather, Foster's going to distribute some more of it out on the marble until we've got plenty there to pick up for the color pattern. So take a good look at the angle he holds the pipe as he comes back. See how he pointed it up? That keeps the glass from running away. And with his hands down low like that, the glass is gathered close to the pipe. Then as he inverts the angle, he covers the glass on the tip. Were he to start and go the opposite way, the glass would elongate and pull away from him. It's a color mix, Kimberly. We have a white core, and then these are mostly transparents, aren't they, Foster?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this is a color mix. So we make a lot of different color mixes. Sometimes we'll put 2 or 3 together, maybe 4 or 5. This one's got the kitchen sink. It's got all kinds of colors in it. And I think that must be what appealed to Donna, was all the color in it. Okay, wonderful. Also, if some of you missed the earlier part of the introduction, Donna walked into the Art of Fire today for the first time, and her husband, Jason, who's back there with her watching this being made, selected this as an anniversary gift for her. So she walked in, picked out the piece and the colors, and now what Josh is doing is twisting the frit. By turning the glass one direction, the friction against the marble took all those little dots of color and stretched them out into lines around the piece. It doesn't work all the way down to the bottom, so he uses the shears to finish it. But now you can see that beautiful twist in it. This is all part of the design. There'll be a couple more elements. In a moment, he's going to be using the optic mold also. Going to get a little bit of air in that, and that'll help puff it out just a little bit, and also it'll work on keeping nicely straight side. Okay, sorry about hesitations in the internet today. I don't know if it's here. Some folks have said no problem, so we'll just carry on. And if we should lose you all together. Don't give up. Come back. We'll rewire and be with you. Okay, so now Josh is reheating in the glory hole. So this is a really cool special gift. We really enjoy doing something like this. We have people that come in and make their own stuff. Here he goes into the optic mold, dropping the glass in and blowing real hard. The glass is forced out against those middle blades, and it creates ridges in the glass where the glass goes between them. And there you have the pattern. So we had the twisted lines of the frit that traveled around the piece. Good afternoon, Steve Ellis from England. Glad to have you. I don't know if Tommy made it with us or not today. Okay, now he's going to twist the ridges. Notice he turns in one direction only. The friction of the glass against the metal tabletop causes what were straight ridges to twist around in a diagonal. Now he'll grab the glass with the shears and continue to twist so that that diagonal pattern comes all the way down in the piece. And that's how we get those multiple twists into it.
We're actually going to do one more.
One more? One more mold and twist? Okay. Did I hear somebody say, let's twist again like we did this summer? Oh, man. Okay, so he's going to get this shaped up. Yeah, I was waiting on David on that one. Okay, he's going to get this shaped up. If he needs to, he'll adjust the profile. If he's got exactly what he wants, it'll be directly into the optic mold again. And he's got the size he needs. It'll fall down right in there, and then it'll be a big blow again. And there are another set of straight lines. Now, those will stay or not?
No, those are get twisted as well.
Okay. Notice again with the one direction twisting. Now if he goes both directions, he's using that to straighten out the body. If the body gets a little bit of a hook in it, he can roll both directions and get a nice smooth straight line on the profile. And also, just like before, the very end of it did not twist up, so he'll sit at the bench, grab the end with the shears, and twist. Now it's important to keep the twist going in the same direction. So most glass blowers experience one or two times of going the wrong way. So since he wants this to turn clockwise, he will turn the pipe toward himself when he grabs it with the shears. And I can tell you from experience, we've all occasionally twisted the wrong way. And now he's got the twist going all the way down to the bottom. So are you going to provide some gymnastics competition for Simone with your triple twist?
Right.
Yeah. Twisting the lines away. You came through, David. That's a really good one. Twisting the lines away. Okay. We'll get that recorded and play it on future pieces. All right, notice how he holds it up. That's to make sure that it stays more compact back toward the pipe. Now he can roll the edges. This straightens the body out, and then another lift, you can actually see it compact. When he points it up, the glass gets shorter, just by a little bit. You'll get a little bit of air blow. We call this free blowing, where you don't cap it and use the highly pressurized air. And you'll notice that most of the expansion comes up toward the blowpipe end, up toward the top of the vessel. He wants to keep the glass thick and cooler down at the bottom. So he can use the hand tool, the jacks, to shape it and also cool it, because when it's in contact with metal, it cools off. A little more inflation, and you can see that bottom of the piece, that tapered cone, did not change at all. So now he'll go back to the glory hole and reheat, and then he'll begin to start cutting a jack line. He'll use the metal plates that are pinched together. They're called jacks. And he will cut a point for separation. And since Jason and Donna are so close to this unlit glory hole, we'll open that to give them and you a good view of what the inside of a glory hole really is. It's a ceramic tube. It has a burner over on the left side. It's fired by propane and pressurized air, and that's what fires up the heat. Now those units only are lit and used when we're actually working and making a piece. The furnace runs 24/7, 365. You can see that he's using the jacks now to cut the jack line or the constriction. And that's a good sized chunk of glass. How hot is it in the studio today?
Hot.
It's hot. How hot is hot? Hot enough to sweat bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Josh is not crying, he's sweating from his eyebrows. And the thermometer we have in here is actually on the back side of one of the 6x6 posts. So whatever it says is really a lot cooler than what it feels like over on this side where all the heat is. So now a little bit more air. Notice the bottom is starting to bulge out just a little bit. That's because it wasn't quite as cool. He does all this under control. And he'll reinforce his jack line again. And we'll see if the official Art of Fire thermometer is showing us anything. Kind of hard to read. It's up in it's reading like 90. It's way hotter than that. Okay.
That much already?
Yeah.
Oh. It's over
So,
here. Cool.
it is cooler over on this side. So now from this view you can see the shape. All right. Now, if the piece is not quite as tall as he wants, he'll let it swing out a little bit. If he's got the height he wants on it, then he'll start working to flatten the bottom. Almost all of our, oh my goodness, this is great. David Hogan started out with hot glass moves, and Judy Fox ends with cold glass don't. I've created a monster. Okay, so we inflate this more than it needs so that when we swing it and it elongates, it reaches the diameter we want. That propeller move there accentuates the centrifugal force. It gives it a little bit of air just to straighten out the sides. So we blow it out a little further than we need if we know we're going to elongate it, because when it gets longer, it gets narrower, okay? So he may do that another time or so, we're not sure. It's just his judgment on that. A couple of you have commented on the pattern. Right before we get ready to do the transfer and the glass is a little cooler, we'll try to get a better close-up of it so you can see. Foster right now is grabbing a little bit of glass that we call a cheater. It's like a button on the bottom of the glass. Josh will accept the bit from him and place it on the bottom. It'll be right in the center. It will not be visible in the finished piece because that's the bottom. But this is like insurance for when we attach the punty and take the piece off. We don't want it to pull the color off of the piece. So we'll get a real good look here at a slow roll, and thank you, Josh. So there's your color design shaping up, and in just a moment where that little red hot dot is, that's where Josh will have the punty attached. Foster's making the punty over there. He's got it on a little bit of glass on the end of an iron, okay? So he's got that shaped up. We don't want a lot sticking off the end of the iron, or the glass would wiggle around a lot if it got hot. This is supposed to be stable. So Foster will bring that over. Josh will accept it with a tool, probably the tweezers, and then place it onto that button or cheater disc. And once he gets that attached, he's going to roll the whole assembly. He's rolling both irons. Foster's just holding gently. Josh wants to see that everything is in alignment with the center of the piece. If he needs to, he uses his tweezer pressure to push down on the punting iron. Once it's stabilized, a little water on the neck cools it, a vibration breaks it free, and Foster takes it to the glory hole. Yes, David, it's just insurance, like Jake at State Farm. Josh says he'll take his pizza right now.
Take his what?
There's a commercial with a guy, Jake at State Farm, and
gets
everybody
a
thinks
pizza.
they're getting special treatment. Yeah,
Right.
pretty funny. Okay, so we always create, or we most always create the lower half of a vessel first, then turn it around and finish up the top half, which is, if you watched us on the YouTube video of the decanter Foster made a half hour ago, or an hour ago now, that's exactly what he did. He made the lower half first and then the upper half. So Josh is concentrating the heat in the upper half of this vessel. He'll still flash the whole piece every once in a while, and then he'll come back and start to open it up a little bit. From the glow, you can see where the heat is. Josh will put the jack blades in to keep it nice and round. And he's going to trim a little bit of glass off. See where the white exposed through the color? So by taking that out, it gives it a nice appearance on the lip. Don't worry that the mouth opening is not round right now. He can go right back into the heat, put the tools on it. It was most important to get that band of white, which you see on the floor, removed from the piece. So that ensures that the top of the vessel looks nicer. So it looks like it's got a little piece of paper on the floor, but it starts to smoke. So we'll take that out and not worry about fire at the art of fire. Actually, it would just create a smell is the only nuisance. Now what he's going to do is roll it on the marver, straighten out the body sides, get the profile he wants. He's got a little bit more to trim out, okay? Okay. So you notice he was only back to the bench probably for 30 seconds or less. We don't have a lot of working time before the glass cools off. And if the glass gets too cold that we want to work, it takes excessive reheating. So he went to all that work of putting those nice ridge lines in it and twisting them all up. If he heats this excessively, it'll just come out completely smooth. The interlocking colors would still be there, but it won't have the same texture. So it's possible to melt out the ridges. So now he's got the heat concentrated in the top. You can see the bright orange color there. And now we're back to getting the mouth nice and round while Foster flattens the lip and shields Josh's arm. And will this be ruffled?
It will.
Okay.
One more heat though.
Yeah. So he's going to open this up a little more. Before we put the ruffles into it, we pretty much get it out to looking like a straight-sided bowl. Then we superheat the very top few inches and then spin them out and let them ruffle. And you'll see that in just a few moments. So right now he's concentrating the heat up in the top 2 or 3 inches of the piece, so you can come back to the bench and use the wooden blades, the parchofis, to get the piece straightened out before he spins it open. See, it has a little taper up at the top, so by using the parchofis, he opens that up to where it's more straight-sided, Foster shields his arm. He can use the newspaper now to shape the glass a little bit. So the newspaper is about 7 or 8 sheets of newsprint folded up into a small square, about 7 inches square. Then soaked in water, it allows us to actually grab the glass. This is the fun part. I'm going to step back over here closer to Jason and Donna so that we can get a view of two. Just start heating that up for 3 or 4 inches. Then it'll begin to spin very fast in the glory hole. It will spin out like a top hat, but then when he points it down, the rim of the top hat will fold. There's a top hat and a rim, and as he goes down with it, he continues turning slowly and gets all those beautiful ruffles in it. So that's how that's done, a combination of heat, gravity, and centrifugal force. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think, Donna? It's beautiful. Okay. All righty. Perfect answer. A little bit of water right on the joint between the punty and that button that's on the bottom. And then a tap on the pipe with the tweezers. It comes free to Foster. And into the annealer it goes. Beautiful work, guys. Let's hear it for Josh and Foster, folks. Amazing work. Yeah, amazing work. And let's all wish happy anniversary to Jason and Donna. Wonderful. Glad you guys could participate. Now, the annealing takes about 8 to 10 hours, okay? And we won't actually cut the heat off on that annealer till later today. Glass is very screwy on a molecular level. It doesn't join together in nice crystal form. It wants to tear itself apart, especially if it cools too fast. If we put your ruffled bowl on the floor right now, inside of 30 minutes, it'd be in probably 50 pieces because it would tear itself apart. We put it in that box and it will come down to 900 degrees and not crack at all. Then overnight, as the bricks release their heat slowly, like a patio would, it will gradually come down to room temperature through what we call the annealing process, which removes the stress in the glass and keeps it from cracking. So that's why you can't take it home today, but it'll be ready. It'll be out of there tomorrow. So thank you both. That was a great idea, Jason. Wonderful. And I can see from the smile she's very happy about that. Okay. All righty, way to go. So that's the first one of those we've presented on a live stream. And since the COVID restrictions have been relaxing a little bit, we're getting a little bit more and more comfortable with folks coming in. You'll have to call the studio if you're nearby and you'd like to arrange something. We're still in the process of working it out, but when Jason came up with this idea, and here's a example of the finished piece. Theirs is shaped a little bit differently, but that's part of custom glass, okay? And now we can get back to the Father's Day part that we didn't do last week. And we've got some flasks up here, so we'll be making a flask later on. We've got decanters on display here, and Foster's going to be making a decanter next. Yes, he's going to make a decanter next. Also like to mention that Sharon Durning won the green confetti mug from last week, and this is our prize for next week. Now, I'm not sure if I got a good shot of it down inside, but that swirl design you see there is what Foster developed as his signature series, and he does it with different colors. That's actually red in white, but because of the way the red mixes in and the interaction of the colors, it gets something more like this. So here's a couple of smaller glasses without stems, and if we get a chance, we'll do something like that a little bit later. So depending on our time constraints, we're going to go for a decanter next. Foster's already made the stopper for it. So he'll make the stoppers ahead of time and gets what he wants. Then he knows when he makes the decanter itself and opens it up that the stopper will fit perfectly. Then we'll have a flask made, I'm not sure what color, but we've got lots of them. So if you want one, let us know. And if you don't see a color you like, we'll be glad to do that. You can check out our catalog at artoffire.com. You can call the studio at 301-253-6642 or email us, and we'll be glad to work out any custom orders for you. Don't forget, we also have gift certificates available. If you don't want to be the one on the spot to order a piece for somebody else's home, let them do it themselves, okay? So next up will be Foster with the decanter. While he's getting ready, we'll come on over here to the bench, and this is a stopper right here. It hasn't been fully ground down yet. He'll do that later, but you can see there's some wax on it, okay? That's so that when he puts that into the hot glass, it moves along it. So he'll be doing that with a hot piece of glass, which will be the decanter itself, and this will keep it from sticking. And he still won't have very much time to do that because the heat could damage that piece. So we don't want to lose the stopper. And cobalt blue, Foster? Just like the stopper. Okay. Okay, so, well, Wayne Hillman loves the blue flask, and Bridget says the flasks are really cool, so. And David Hogan says that answers the age-old question, which came first, the stopper or the flask? Yes, in this case, the stopper. Now, actually, when we make the flasks, the stopper is simply a piece of cork. So we have a small piece of cork at the bench, and when we form the piece, that's how we size it. But then in this case, somebody else does the stoppers. But Foster's made the stopper already, and I guess we're ready to go, sir.
That's right. And I'll tell you an interesting story. When I first started making decanters, I would make the decanter itself, and then I would struggle with the stoppers until I found one that fit properly. So it only took me 3 or 4 years until one day there was a lightning strike in my head, and it was, well, why don't you just make the stopper first and fit it to the neck of the decanter? And it's been easy ever since.
That's brilliant, but it leads me to one question. With the 100 stoppers that you had pre-made in the back room that didn't fit anything, did you then make the next 100 next 100 decanters?
That's right. And they were
brilliant.
Sold many, many years ago.
Okay.
I've been making and fitting the stoppers into the neck of the decanters for probably at least 20 years now.
Okay. Foster actually has, what, about 45 years of glassblowing experience now? 40 years of glassblowing experience. And since he can't possibly be a day older than 50, I'm just amazed that anybody taught a 10-year-old to blow glass. All right, so on with the show. Foster's going to take the preheating blowing iron, and you can see it's got a really bright orange glow on the end. He blows through it to make sure that it's not clogged. That's really a frustrating thing to begin working out the piece and then come to find out that your blowpipe is clogged. So we make sure of that early on. He's got a small piece of cobalt blue, which was pre-warmed in the annealer. And what he's going to do now, he's going to make sure that the pipe cooler is hooked back up. I'll get that, Foster, if you want. Okay. And now he's going to melt that blue in. So let's go over here to where... So sorry for whatever shows up on the camera, folks, but I'm trying to get this hose attached to the pipe cooler. And what I'm going to do is ask Josh to come down and hook it up, because I'm not, we'll let that go for a minute. Hard to hold the camera and attach that hose. We'll get it in a minute. So right now the blue is melting in the glory hole. Glory hole runs at about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe a little bit cooler depending on how the glass blower wants it to be. But the purpose of the glory hole is to reheat the glass. As you just saw when Josh was making that large Fiesta bowl, he had to get up quite often to go back and reheat the glass. Of course, as we leave the heat, we lose heat. And if the glass loses the heat too quickly, it can crack. And also, when it gets colder, it's not workable. So there's your melted blue, and he's going to roll that on the marver now. He angles the pipe to get a taper to it, then he taps the end to cool it a little bit there. A little more taper after squashing, and then he'll blow and cap the pipe with his finger. No, not going to do that on you.
I'm going to go ahead and gather over it.
Do your gather and then do the blow?
And
okay.
Then after blocking it, and then set the bubble there.
Okay.
Good.
So we don't always do it exactly the same for every piece. So with the decanter, probably another brilliant move discovered at some point, and he decided that, he's decided since I couldn't hook up the hose with one hand, and he didn't either, he'll use two hands, and there's our pipe cooler. There's a little pump down in the pan, and it comes up and attaches to the trough. And now we got water running in the trough, and that will adequately cool the pipe. So in spite of that slight digression, sometimes we don't start the bubble in the color. Sometimes we actually do take a gather, let the heat penetrate and even out, and then set the bubble, as Foster said. The gather of glass from the furnace runs at about 2,000 degrees. There's 450 pounds of molten glass in there, so it stays really hot. We don't need to keep it any hotter than that. He'll bring this back to the glory hole and reheat. Now the blue, he let cool off for a while. So now before he blows, he wants to equalize the temperatures. He doesn't want to try to blow with the blue core very cold and 2,000 degree glass on the outside. If he got the bubble to go, it wouldn't be under control, and it might come out with some really funny shapes. So when he brings this back to the bench, he'll probably block it a little bit, get it stabilized, a nice concentric form, and then he'll trap the air in it. So if you joined us in process, Foster's making a decanter now in cobalt blue. He's going to use the cherry wood block. It's basically a wooden cup on a handle. It'll give it a nice rounded shape, give it some symmetry so things stay nicely aligned. And then he's going to blow in a minute, trap the air in the pipe, and we'll watch that bubble expand out in the glass. He blows into the pipe, covers the mouthpiece with his finger, and here will come the bubble in just a moment. Now, because there was no air in it, it takes just a moment longer. But there you go. A nice even distribution of the glass. And a lot of times we'll do something like this where we don't blow in the initial pickup of color, just to make sure we get a nice even distribution down in the piece. Especially one that's going to be swung out a lot longer than this one, which you'll see in a few minutes. Now again, with the cooling a little bit so that he can gather, it won't take long. Just so this next layer of heat doesn't penetrate and distort the bubble he just put in. He's using the pipe cooler right now to cool the ends of the pipe. And if you were with us on the first piece, the anniversary piece we made, we talked about how the pipe cooler allows us to grab closer to the glass and not burn our hands. Gives us better leverage. Now the glass is cooled sufficiently. Into the furnace he'll go and pick up another coating of clear glass on the outside of all of this. Well, Wayne Hellman came up with blue on blue, B-L-E-W on B-L-U-E. And a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Bobby Vinton, who sang blue on blue, heartache on heartache, blue on blue, now that we are through. Just figured we'd throw that in there. Got a grin out of Foster. He shaped the glass and he's initiating the jack line, okay? This is the point of separation from the pipe. He's going to blow a little more into that, trap the air, increase the size of the bubble, but not completely fill it. He's got a good reservoir of thick glass toward the bottom. He's going to heat this up, and then he's going to put it into the optic mold. Yes, David, she wore blue velvet. Here we go, into the optic mold, lets it settle in, fill in, and then he'll blow real hard into the pipe, and when he comes out, we'll have the ridges in the glass. Yeah, I know all those songs, but we're going to stop it right there. We're not going for Blueberry Hill or any of the others. Sorry. We'll do a music episode one day. Maybe we'll make glass instruments.
No, glass inspired from music.
All right. Now, Foster will cool the tip of the glass to keep it from expanding there too much when he blows. By rolling the glass on the metal table, it removes heat from that end somewhat. He's going to reset his jack line a little bit, make it a little tighter. That glass up near the pipe is going to be pretty cool in a little while. Cool in the temperature sense and also cool in the artistic sense. But he's going to swing this out and it's going to get a lot longer. And when it does, the long tube that forms, which will be the throat of or the neck of the decanter, will cool off considerably. So he's got his, a lot of reservoir of glass in the bottom. Now watch how slowly he starts this. Nice and gentle. He'll pause a little at the top just to see how it's running. He's not using a lot of energy right now. That glass is so hot that if he goes too quickly, it will be almost impossible to keep straight. But now you can see that he kept nice symmetry with it. He also is probably not out to the full length he wants, but he needed a little more heat. And it's better to do this in gradual steps rather than do it all at once. Now, he'll cool the bottom of it again. And now the glass will lengthen where it's hot. And if by holding it pointed down, he can actually let it lengthen and blow at the same time. A little swing back and forth with it, it's still lengthening. You'll see the dark blue up near the blowpipe, or darker blue, and a brighter color toward the bottom. So that's indicative of the heat. Right now, Foster's flattening the bottom. He's got Josh making a putty. So lots of times the gaffer or artist making the piece will make their own putty. Sometimes they'll have someone assisting them make the putty. In this case, Josh has gathered up a little bit of glass on the end of an iron, and that will stick to the bottom of the piece. Then Foster will intentionally break the piece there at the jack line. He's cooling it just a little bit now and using the file. He's not going to break it off, though, until the putty's on. He'll place that in the bottom, center bottom of the piece, and then Foster will turn his iron, and Josh just supports that outboard iron. And that allows Foster to control the alignment of both pipes and the glass. Another drip of water right onto the neck area there, and then a little vibration, and it will break free. And there it goes. Another successful transfer. Or as many of you have noticed, the breath-holding moment for glass blowers. Actually, probably after you do a few thousand of them, it's more a surprise when they don't work out. But now we formed the lower half, or 2/3 of the vessel. When we turn it around, we finish the upper portion. Judy Fox suggests one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. We could probably make a sculpture like that sometime. Okay, so Foster's heating the upper part of the decanter. It was cold enough to fracture. It takes a little while. Now he's going to use a little centrifugal force to get more length to it. It was a little shorter than he wanted, but he can take care of that right now. Yes, they are good vibrations, David Hogan, and we'll all wear our Beach Boys shirts when we sing that song. Okay, so Foster's heating the upper reaches of the vessel again. You see him giving it a flash there. It's all the way in the glory hole. You'll see where the heat is from the color when he comes out, and he swings it and spins it, and now he's got the length he wanted. Now he's going to use his shears and cut off the lip where it was a little uneven. If you watched a few moments ago when Josh made the anniversary gift, he had to shear the top of the piece off just a little bit. In this particular case, Foster made the glass a little longer than needed so that he could shear that off. It's just like when we overinflate a vessel before we spin it and lengthen it. We know that we're going to lose a little bit of the dimension. Okay, so once he gets this to where he wants as far as the shape of the vessel, he'll begin to open the neck or the throat of the decanter, and then he'll work on the stopper. Actually, what he'll work on is seeing that the stopper fits this particular decanter. If you watch this from the beginning of this particular piece, we held up the stopper so you could see it. Foster will get the opening to where he believes it will fit right, and then he'll confirm it by placing the stopper into the neck. That little bit of swing downward right there on the way to the bench helped lengthen it. It also narrowed it a little bit. Now he can use his jacks, open it up and flare the lip a little bit. And he can use the jacks on the outside, squeezing gently to change the profile and perhaps narrow it. In just a moment, he'll pick up that stopper that he has preset on the bench. He made that the other day and set it in. And if he wants it to sit further down in the vessel, he'll open it up a little bit more. If it looks like it falls too deep, he simply squeezes the neck down a little bit. So we'll see which it is when he comes back. If the jacks go inside and open the piece up, that means it was a little too narrow. He wants the stopper to go deeper. If he uses the tools on the outside and squeezes it down, then it was too wide open. The mystery is about to reveal itself. He's inside, so he's opening it up just a little bit. Then when he puts the jacks down, it'll be another test fit with the stopper. He's on the outside, so it's just a little too much. He has just enough heat to squeeze that down some. And another test. And he shakes his head, yes, he does. All right, so now we're ready to flash it and take it off. So there's our decanter. So now he's going to give that a flash heat, and he'll come over here to take it off. The glass will break at its weakest point. We hope to make the punty joint the weakest point. And he's going to do that by using a butter knife to cool that joint. He's just going to tap around it. His object here is not to knock it off. Obviously, it would hit the floor. His object is to cool that point. He'll hand the pipe off to Josh and then catch the piece in his gloved hand as it falls. So Josh is holding the pipe, Foster taps it, and off it comes. Beautiful. All righty. Another successful piece from the Art of Fire. Let's hear it for Foster. Amazing job. I'm with you, Jill. It's a beautiful color. Everybody likes it. And here I am talking, and it looked like he shifted the weight, and it'll be made another day. What?
He lost it for a second, then caught it, and I thought he had it. And then it just slipped out.
Ah, okay. So looks like the studio needs to hire a juggler.
That's the one that got away.
That's the one that got away. But you notice we're all laughing about it. It's not a big deal. You just make another one later on.
That's the floor model.
That's the floor model. That's right. Okay. This one, though, is beyond the point of saying it's not what you can make, it's what you can fix. This is the Humpty Dumpty of glass blowing. Okay. But again, we joke about it. We don't like it to happen, but hey, it does sometimes. So rather bounce it on the floor instead of your chest. Okay, so there went the decanter, but you saw it made. Here's others, and if you want to see one that gets put into the annealer, check out our YouTube video, which was done about 10:30 this morning Eastern Daylight Time on our YouTube channel, and we got the same color and a decanter again. So anyway, there we go with the decanter. So to continue with our Father's Day gift, get the super glue right, Wayne. Yeah, that would be more. Actually, we could probably make a really nice design where the super glue looks like the leaded panels of stained glass for that one. Okay, so we're on to the flask. So we got a variety of flasks hanging here on display. We've got many, many more in our catalog, and we can do probably most any color you would want. So do the flask, and then we'll be moving on to other Father's Day stuff. What color are we going to have, Josh?
It's like a blue mix.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, we got 3 colors of blue in this. Oh, somebody asked, we were joking around earlier about which came first, the stopper or the flask, but we also have over here somewhere a small quart. Here we go. Actually, we got several of them, okay? But they're all basically the same. So the quart has a drywall screw in it. I don't know how drywall screws got so... I mean, they're like the most useful thing for all kinds of stuff. So anyway, the little drywall screw keeps your fingers away from the piece, and this is what we use for setting the neck size on a flask. So Josh will be forming up the flask, and then once he's got the flask on the putty turned around so he can work on an opening, he'll test it for the fit. And you can see from the burn marks how far we want the flask to be, how far we want the cork to go in the flask. Yep. So that'll sit in the bucket bobbing around. When it sinks to the bottom, it means he's got a fish on the line.
That's right. I wouldn't doubt it with this water around here. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a fish.
Yeah, I don't know if the bacteria and other organisms that grow in block buckets would actually take bait, but good idea. Okay, so it's going to be a couple of while he's hit that first gather, let's just make a real quick announcement of congratulations to Sharon Durney for winning the green confetti mug from last week, and our prize for next week is this Foster.
Yes, sir.
Do you call this other than a shot glass?
That's the Signature Series color grouping.
Okay, Signature Series is the color grouping, and there's a beautiful little miniature glass there for your shots or your samples of whiskeys or that sort of thing. Okay, so Josh has the first gather of glass, and as we snuck back on him, we found him shaping the glass with the jacks instead of the block. And it really doesn't matter. For years, glass blowers didn't have blocks, so they just had to shape it either free form without that or using the tool. Again, he's trapped the air inside and got the bubble blown out about 2/3 of the way into the gather. The jacks will straighten the side a little bit, and he's going to taper the end. When that rounded end is kind of important, that helps them gather. If you go in with a flattened end and try to gather, you're more likely to trap an air bubble on the end of the piece. So by having that taper as he enters the glass at an angle, I'm talking about the glass in the furnace. Now he could, put a hole in the bottom, and now that will trap air. Okay, and since we're doing this just for the, let's get a good look at, okay, so there's a little hole in the bottom. So we make shot glasses with this that trap air bubbles in them and things like that. In fact, we did a whole episode a few months back on bubbles in glass, so we may have done one then. He's letting the glass strip off, and before he goes through the frit, we'll probably be able to see the air bubble in the end of the glass. It's very bright from the incandescent, so it's difficult to see, but closer to the tip of the glass than the actual air bubble, we have it right out at the end. There's a very small entrapment of air right there.
Can they see it on camera?
Yeah, I think we can pretty well see it. It's right down by the tip. And now he's going to take it out of there, feeling the bubble a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty cool. The smell of burning cork in the morning. Oh yeah, we get that. It's the smell of burning tennis shoes that's more distressing. Every once in a while there is a hot piece of glass on the floor, and if you're not aware of it, you can accidentally step on it. All right, so you got the frit mix on there. A couple of times through. Just the once, okay. Oh, okay, Jim Yurden has joined us. Okay, well, I'm not going to say better late than never. Oh, I did say it. No, but I don't mean that in a facetious way. Welcome aboard, okay? So the beauty of this is if you've missed the live stream part of it, you can always go back and watch it later. Josh now is twisting that frit. So the frit was applied as little dots of glass, if you will, and now by twisting it, he's created lines from those dots. The reason he's using the shears on the end of it is the twisting doesn't always get down to the tip of the glass. So get this shaped up to how he wants it, and then we'll move on from there. If you were a little late tuning in, it'd be really good to go back to the beginning and watch later, because we had an anniversary surprise today. A couple approaching their anniversary, and Jason, without his wife Donna's knowledge, purchased a piece of glass to be made in her presence today. She'd never been in the studio and didn't know anything about it until she showed up and it was explained. And she was told to pick a piece of glass. Now Josh is twisting the frit in a corkscrew motion with the tweezers. This will put a spiral design into the finished piece. When the tweezers get hot from contact with the glass...
Or they have wax on them.
Oh, they had wax?
Oh, yeah. They still do.
Well, you did pretty good grabbing it for waxy tweezers, yeah.
You can probably see the wax on the tweezers.
And he can hint as much as he wants, but neither Foster or I are going to clean his tweezers for him. Yeah, you can see a little bit. You can see some water dripping off, but you can also see the shiny from the wax. So our bench here, we have a pad of wax right here that we use to wax the gas. The idea is to keep our other tools away from the wax. But every once in a while, the tweezers will. And it's really easy to clean the tweezers off.
I try to grab it.
It's not grabbing.
See, it's like slipping right off.
So rather than clean them, Foster's going to walk for a fresh pair. See how that grabs and Now, after he's got the design into this, he'll inflate it. It'll look like a sphere with a jack line in it, and it'll be pulled a little bit from the blowpipe, but then he'll flatten it. And that'll take place in a few moments over there on the marver with those two wooden paddles. by cooling the end of the glass. He makes sure that it doesn't inflate too much down there. Now he traps the air. Let's watch the sphere blow out and come out nice and slow. And then he'll take a reheat and begin working it. So when he takes it back to the bench, he'll get some inflation into it. He'll also be cutting a jack line and pulling the piece away from the pipe a little bit. And he's going to go for the jack line first because the glass closest to the pipe is hottest. Notice he's pulled it away some. That's going to be the throat or spout, if you will, of the flask. And now he can inflate the lower portion into a sphere. He'll use his jacks to shape up the jack line and the shoulder area and then continue to blow. Once he feels that the heat's dissipated, if it's too much, he'll take a reheat, or when he's done, he'll stop and come over to flatten. Now he will cap the end, he's blowing it up just a little bit, make it larger. He's going to put another heat in it. He will cap the pipe or put his thumb or the palm of his hand over the end of the pipe to keep the air from escaping while Foster squeezes it. So between the two boards, he'll flip it now, get the other side, and he has the pipe capped so all the air doesn't run out. And now we have the flattened disc that becomes the flask. And since it's cooled off a bit, you can really see the design, the swirls in those. But we can't see any wax. No, it would have burned up. So now it's a matter of putty and work on the top. The Foster will form the putty, a little bit of glass on the end of an iron. It's what will attach to the bottom of the piece. Josh is using the tweezers right now. He was cooling the neckline a little bit. Very important to have a delicate touch on these pieces. Get the putty on in place, and then he'll break it free at the jack line. And there it goes. All right, so Foster takes it back into the heat a little bit. Yeah, it does look a little bit like Starry Nights, David. Yeah, Van Gogh's Starry Night. Yep. Okay. So now he's going to heat the top of the vessel, the opening, that lip area, and he'll gradually open it a little bit larger, probably flare it a little bit, and then we'll see him use the little cork to check the size of the opening there. Take the jacks and open that up a little bit, and probably a little bit of taper up at the top, and now a test fit with the little cork. When he's got that like he wants, he'll let Foster know, and it'll be time to put the hooks onto it. Okay, they're ready. So Foster will take a small gather of glass from the furnace. He'll roll that onto marble real gently just to ground it, but not really suck a lot of heat out. And then they're going to put on the first hook. He'll bring it over to Josh, who will place the glass on the flask, snip it off, and now he'll use his waxed tweezers to curl the hook. Actually, that's not a problem. He doesn't need to grab real hard for that. And he's probably burned most of the wax off. But now he's got the first hook on, and we'll do that again. Josh will take a quick flash just to make sure the glass stays at temperature, and they'll put another bit onto the opposite side. So we're going to see, if we can, how it is that Josh gets them evenly placed. So watch what he does is he turns the pipe and looks where the other one is, and then comes around and places it. He actually held the gather of glass that was being delivered over the point where the first one was, and then as he continued the rotation 180 degrees, he got the other piece exactly in line with it. All righty, there we go. So do we go with Van Gogh or McLean with Starry, Starry Night? Oh man, he says give me a break. All right, so now he's going to use the butter knife just to tap the putty. It may actually come off, and it does. That's how delicate the putty attachment has to be on these. It's fairly thin on the bottom, thinner than, say, a mug or anything like that would be. But if you have to really hit that putty hard to get it to release, you risk ripping the bottom. So let's hear it for Josh. Yay! And Foster. Well done, guys. Okay. So that's one where the putty is really a little bit tricky, just to make sure you get the temperature right and the adhesion, because you don't want to take the bottom out of it. Okay. So we're going to go with a stemless wine glass, Foster?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, all righty. So if you joined us in progress and missed our first piece of the day, we had a surprise gift. Jason purchased a piece for his wife for their anniversary, but this morning, before we started the broadcast, was the first Donna knew anything about it when she asked her husband, what are we doing here? And they walked into the Art of Fire. And it was explained to them that she could pick a piece from the gallery and the colors that she wanted. So we did one of these Fiesta vases, or Fiesta bowls we call them. A lot of colors. With this one has a white interior. This is pretty much like the one she wanted or got made. So it was really nice. They sat down there, watched the piece being made. If any of the rest of you are interested in that type of process or giving someone a gift in that manner, get in touch with us. We'll see what we can do about accommodating that. You can also get gift certificates. We can do those, and then you don't have to pick out the piece. But that was kind of a nice anniversary touch this morning from Jason to Donna, and we're glad to have helped them celebrate. Sharon Durney won the green confetti mug from last week. And this little drinking glass here, which is ideal for shots or small amounts of liqueurs in Foster's signature series pattern, is the giveaway for next week. So your comments will get you entered in the drawing. If you watched earlier, we had the floor model decanter. I'm just kidding. Yeah, sometimes accidents happen. But here's 3 of them, and we can make many, many more. In fact, if you watch today's YouTube video, we made one of the cobalt blue and got it successfully put away. We've done flask already, and here's several more on our display. And next we're going to do the stemless wine glass. So here's a purple and a blue one, and from the color that's on the Marver, I'm guessing that this might be cherry red. Yes, it is. So for Antoinette or any of the other glass blowers out there, it's the number 142, which is cherry red. So he's got the frit spaced out on the Marver. There's a finished one right there that's already been annealed. Thank you, Joanne. Joanna says the YouTube video is fantastic. Okay, so Foster's getting set up and ready. Yeah, you got to rewatch that, Jim. It was on its way to the annealer, and Foster does a really good job imitating the band majorette with twirling the pipe, but a juggler he's not. And when the glass goes up in the air, a lot of times the very best thing to do is let it go on the floor. Yeah.
So.
All right. Oh, so we've talked about mold a lot, especially the optic mold. But this mold here is one that pretty much shapes the vessel for the glass blower. So you can see the contour in this of what will be the stemless wine glass. It will require a little bit of opening for the lip It will also require some flattening for the vase, but for the most part, the vessel is formed. So a lot of drinkware that you get that is factory made is done in some type of mold, and in those cases, they can make almost the entire piece from a mold, and then they're done with it, no more blowing. So Foster will be taking his glass gathers, he'll be heating them up, then when he steps up onto that box, he'll use his foot to close the mold. And you can see the opening where the blowpipe, or the glass actually, this is where the blowpipe will be right above those two metal half rings. So we'll set that back out there.
And this has the crackle texture.
Okay.
So after we blow it into the mold and inflate it a little bit, we'll do a quick reheat. The glory ball come out, go plunge it into the water quickly. We'll go into and come out of the water. And what happens is that when it hits the water, it causes surface shrinkage to occur. It does not penetrate the glass in totality. It's just strictly a visual surface decorative addition.
Okay.
And we're making a mate to this because the original one apparently had a crack in the bottom.
Ah.
So I need a mate to it.
Okay. And the ever-observant David Hogan noticed this on the floor and asked if this was a chalk line of a floor model. At crime scenes, you know how they outline the body? Actually, this was a drawing to show someone how it would be made. But that's a good thought, that we could outline the pieces, but we'd need a lot of chalk for that decanter that broke. But no, that is not an outline of a dead glass body. That was a design to show someone. Okay, so Foster's back now to start gathering glass on the blowing iron. He'll blow through it to make sure it's clear, and he's going to cool it just a little bit in the pipe cooler. The pipe cooler allows us to grab the iron closer to the head or the area where the glass is. Of course, we don't want to grab the glass, but we want to get as close to it as we can because of the ability to gain leverage, okay? So we don't want to have to hold the iron back by the handle. Makes it very difficult. See how he's holding it right by the middle there with one hand. He can easily turn it and control it. And he could grab even closer if he wanted, but the balance point is all he needs. He'll use the small cherry wood block. It's a cup with a handle attached. It shapes the glass, gives it some uniform shape. It also cools the outside to stabilize a little bit, and then he will blow into the pipe and put his finger over the end of it, the mouthpiece. It'll trap the pressurized air, which has no place to go but out into the gather of glass. Here comes the bubble. Okay, we got the bubble firmly established in there. He can chill it just a little bit more with the block, keeping it nicely shaped. We want this to cool off just a little bit because if we go right back into the furnace while it's still hot, it could cause the bubble to collapse. And he's also going to use this mold for the next shaping because this is going to help him get it shaped up for the mold that will make the stemless wine glass. So instead of going to the bench and using the cherry wood block, he'll use this other mold. It'll just get the shaping done a little more to what will fit into this mold he has over here and be on his way. He's also going to have to pick up the frit on this gather. And the frit gathers best on fresh hot glass. So by using this, he keeps some heat in it. You can still see the glow in there. And now that end is hot, and you can come right over here and gather the frit directly onto the piece. So now he's got a good bit of glass down in the bottom of that, and plenty of frit. Okay. By using the back end of the piece on the marver, he pushes a little off the blowpipe, another pressurized air, And here we go. All right. So he's going to get this shaped up like he wants. He'll begin to elongate it just a little bit at the neck so that it goes down into this other mold. Slightly larger block. We have a variety of sizes. When he dips it down like that, it elongates some, and now he can use this just to separate the blow pipe, but also pull outward. See how he's lengthening the distance from the pipe a little bit there. With a wee bit more air. He doesn't want to inflate it to where it will be larger than the mold. He wants it to fit nice and firm, snug, but with room to expand when he does blow it out. Foster, is this a mold on your marker made of aluminum?
Yes.
Yes, it's aluminum, David. The one he's in now, see the smoke coming out? Okay, he's turning the pipe and blowing. Release his foot, kick it out, and there is almost the finished shape of a stemless wine glass. You can see that you need a soda straw to drink from the end of it. Okay, but he's going to open that up after the transfer. Into the water he goes for the crackle finish. Out he comes and scars the surface, but does not crack through the glass. Now he's heating the bottom of the piece so he can flatten it. So you can see how with this mold that pre-shapes the body of the vessel, we can speed things up. There's the flattening. All right.
Just a joke I was thinking of. I don't know if it's appropriate though. For
Yeah, if you don't think it's appropriate, let's just leave it alone. You can tell me later. All right, and Foster's going to do this one solo. So he gave the piece a flash and hung it up there on the yard arm, and it's just swinging along over there. He's going to make the putty, then go back over and grab the blowpipe. So he has probably, at least a good minute before he has to get heat back on that. So he's only a few seconds into it. Shape the putty, come back over and attach it to the piece on the bottom. Then he'll center it up. Turning it, and we get a good look at the crackle here too. Or can we call it cracking? And off it comes. Now, the pipe rolls down the bench. You wouldn't believe how many people see that demonstrated and gasp as the pipe rolls down the bench because they're convinced it's going to come off onto the floor. And it would, were it not for these screws on the end of the bench to stop it. The bench is also inclined from the seat forward. It has a downward slope. So Foster had this really cool trick when he first was working alone. He would stand down at the open end of the bench, and while he went to get his putty made, he would flick the iron and let it roll up the bench to the back. Then it would roll down to the bottom while he gathered glass. He'd give it another flick and let it roll up and down again while he shaped the putty and do his transfer. The first time I tried that, I flicked the pipe and it went off the back end of the bench. End of piece. All right, so now all he's got to do is start opening the top of the vessel. If he wants it a little rounder or anything, he has the option of putting his steam cone in. He may or may not. Okay, he's looking really close to the one that he's trying to make a mate for. There it is right there.
So I've got calipers.
So he's got calipers to judge the opening and the height. and find out exactly if it's going to match. All right, a thumbs up and we're good to go. All righty. So there's the mate to the one that needed one. Does that make us like a dating service? Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Okay. Again, he's going to tap the putty joint with the butter knife. That will loosen it up. Then he'll take the little hammer handle, tap the pipe, and the cup will release. Yes, Judy, I can do that without throwing the glass off the end of the bench. But thanks for asking.
What is that you're doing?
No, I was telling him about how you used to flick the iron up the pipe and up the bench and let it roll back.
Oh, yeah.
And the first time I did it, it went off the back of the bench. So Judy asked if that was just the first time or can I do it now? And yes, the answer is yes. But it's all fun and games. Okay, so there we go with the stemless wine glass. And I believe, are we going to have a beer?
Yes.
We're going to have a beer mug. So this is it right here. So if for Father's Day you'd like to give a beer mug that looks like it has beer in it, we can do it with a Pilsner like this. We can do it with a stout. And for, I don't know about other countries, perhaps our UK viewers can weigh in, but I kind of thought that green beer on St. Patrick's Day was just kind of a US thing. But I don't know. Okay, we can also do Pilsner glasses with a little lighter beer in it. So we got lots of choices there. And we've shown you the flasks already. We've got mugs of various shapes and sizes in addition to the beer mugs. We've even got some glasses to celebrate dads who can't get their golf balls to go in the right direction and wind up hitting a glass. Or perhaps there's a handle in the home and you want to put a hammer on instead of a handle. Okay, so lots of options here. Again, congratulations to Sharon Durney, who won the green confetti mug. This is our giveaway prize for next week. Okay, so let's go get some beer, Josh. Yeah, okay. So Josh has preheated a piece of gold brown glass in the annealer. And what's interesting about this particular mug is we're kind of going to make things we're going to start out in reverse order. Normally, the glass that's at the blowpipe is the top of the vessel. But because we're going to add a couple of other elements to it, we've got the gold glass, which is the bottom of the beer mug, attached to the blowpipe. Josh will melt this in and start blowing it out. Once he gets it made into a cylinder and opens the end of the cylinder, then we'll add the white foam or head, if you will, and then a little bit of clear glass to finish out the mug. Now it'll be on the blowpipe upside down, and we don't make glass upside down. So what we'll have to do is transfer it to another pipe to go ahead and get things in the right order. So the logical question might be, why don't you just start out with clear, then put a little bit of white, and then put your big piece of gold on the bottom? And you could, except it would be harder to control. It would be harder to put together. This is a much easier way to put things together. And then the tube, when he's finished with it, will be open on both ends. We'll put a blowpipe in the other end, and then all will be right with the world and will be in correct vertical order. All right, so he's gathered once on the gold brown. He's going to shape this up. He'll block it. He'll blow it out a little bit. Going to peel. Looks like he's going to peel a little off. A little bit. Doesn't need a lot at this point because we're going to be gathering more glass later. He wants a cylindrical shape, so he's using a newspaper to shape it a little bit. And then, in a moment, he'll blow into it. He started where the neckline will be. Now he needs to inflate this glass, and it's going to bulge out into kind of a bubble. And he's going to bring that back down to a cylinder in a moment. but then he's going to cut off that end. So there's the ball of glass, and now he's going to work on pulling it out. That straightens it some. He can use his jack blades for the body, and now what he can do is he'll give us a little more air in that, and he'll cut 2 jack lines eventually. He's using his shears right now to cut a jack line. So you don't often see this, but by holding them gently on the glass, you create the line. Now he'll wind up tipping that off. He's going to knock that piece off, separate it from the rest, and it's hollow, okay? It's open on the end. He's also going to be putting a jack line onto the gold close to the pipe so that when he does the transfer to another blowing iron, he can get it to break easily. But he may do that after they add the white. So Foster's picked up a little bit of the white, which forms the foam or the head on the beer. He's going to get that very hot in a few moments. Josh is going to open this cylinder up a little bit so it has a nice even edge. See how it's rolled over, kind of curled? Well, now by putting his blades in there, he gets a flatter surface. And here's the jack line to separate eventually from this pipe. And that opening on the very end where he's working now is what will be filled with the white. Foster brings the hot glass over. Josh will grab it, place it onto the marver, and then right up to the piece, lays it on and pulls it out some and snips it off. He'll marver that very quickly and then blow into it. That white was solid up till right now, and you're going to see that expand and extend a little bit. And now we're going to do the same thing with the white that he did with the gold. He's going to open it up on the end. So use the shears almost like a pair of jacks. Now he'll knock that piece off. He'll be taking another reheat and opening up that small hole to a larger diameter and a nice smooth edge. And that's what Foster will be bringing the clear glass to fill in a few moments. Do you ever put the baking soda bubbles in the beer mugs? No, we haven't.
Thought about it.
We could, and Josh says he's thought about it. All right, so now he's got that cylinder made with the gold and white. And remember, this is reverse order from the finished product.
Tell you what, Foster, let's get one more down.
Okay.
Josh is letting his glass cool. Foster's taking another gather of clear. And then just as they did before, Foster will bring it over. Josh will let it flatten on the marver, then lift it up and put it right on top of that white. You hear something?
No, I'm just wondering if it's gold.
Oh.
I don't think it's gold. I think we might have a...
You think you might have a stout?
Yeah.
So he's going to place that on top, and he's going to pull up on it some. It's still solid glass.
Like mystery meat.
Now
It was in the gold round bin.
it was misplaced, huh?
Yeah.
Now that's solid. As soon as he blows, we're going to see the bubble come out into there. So there goes the bubble out into the clear. Okay. So what they're talking about with the color is in the back we have these bins that have all our color in them, and they're labeled by number. So this was supposed to be number 19, the gold. But Josh says he thinks it might be a darker color and that it may have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. So once again, knocking the end of this off. Now that opening doesn't have to be nice and smooth. I'll give you that in just a minute, Bridget. I think we talked about this once before. He's going to open that up. So people every once in a while ask, what's with the scorecard there with the Bruce and the Josh? And so what I always point out, though, is Bruce has 10 to the third, which equals Josh there. I'm going to reinforce that 3. We were just joking around one day because, of course, he works much faster than I do. And someone was saying, well, how many pieces will Josh complete in the time Bruce does the same?
And I didn't write that up there.
No, I know you did. I think Rachel wrote that up there. But I would like to point out that Bruce has 10 to the third power. Okay, Foster has the other iron now. You'll notice that the clear is flared out some. Josh will grip the iron, place it into that opening, seal it against that blowpipe, and then break the whole assemblage free of his original blowpipe. And now all is right with the world in the order of the color. We've got the clear glass, which is the top of the mug closest to the blowing iron. We've got the foam or head down in the midpoint. And we've got the rest of the glass filled up with some type of beer, and we're not sure if it's golden or dark.
Or neither.
Or neither. We're going to hope it's not bright orange.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a beer out there that...
Yeah, that's true.
There's red beer?
Yep.
It's one of these new flavored beers. That's right.
Flavored beers, yeah. Okay, so he's going to close up the end of that where it was broken free of the first blowpipe. Squeeze down with it. See how he's using a very small motion with those shears. He's not grabbing it really hard, trying to slice it. He's trying to keep the center straight, breaks off the little end, and now got that completely closed. Bridget says that sours are usually colored, so yeah, we'll call it a sour. All right, now the process is going to be getting this shaped. He's going to cool the end of it a little bit, taper it some, and probably give it just a little bit of air before he goes and gathers again. So now you can see how changing the iron over gave us the clear on top, the band of the foam or head of beer, and then the whatever color the body is. You know, it's quite often hard to tell exactly what color you have while you're in the heating process because all of the colors change pretty dramatically.
I know it's transparent. I can tell that by looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's dark. Yeah, dark.
It's not a transparent blue.
It's not blue. It's not purple.
Not green.
So it's not in that family. It's definitely in like the browns or black family.
Okay.
Or red or dark red.
Okay. Oh wow, a burgundy beer.
There you go.
And yes, we can do wine glasses the same way with a little bit of red wine in the bottom. All right, he takes another gather of glass over that whole assembled portion. Not going to be shaping this up. He'll use the newspaper or the block. Feel a little bit of off. It doesn't require a great deal of glass, a huge amount. And by using the newspaper, You can get a nice cylinder-shaped form. The newspaper is a perfect insulator. When there's enough newspaper, it's thick, and you keep it wet. You can actually grab onto the glass with the newspaper and shape it. Once he gets this hot enough and it's all shaped up, he'll go in the optic mold and put the ridges into it. Here we go, into the ridges, and he'll blow really hard into that. And there are the ridges. Okay. So when we do that, it pushes a lot of glass up on the blowpipe, so he can marver that out a little bit if need be, but there he goes with the cylinder. He's going to cool the bottom of it. He cooled that before putting it into the glory hole. It will still be a little bit colder than the rest of the piece when it comes out. By marvering again, he cools it even more. Now when he blows, the inflation is up toward the top and middle mainly. Here he goes with the jack line, which will be the point of separation from the blowpipe. You can see how it's wiggling around. It's so very hot. The newspaper also chills the bottom, just like the marver did a few minutes ago, but it would be harder to marver that round shape. So rather than make it a cylinder again and marver it, he just used the wet newspaper. Now a little bit of swinging back and forth, and then probably a little bit of a propeller motion after another heat. Just like we've said on any of the other vessels we've made, you have to have a larger diameter before you start swinging it out, because you're going to lose that as it lengthens. So with a little more diameter, see how gently this goes. And then he can get a little more aggressive as it cools slightly. And the little bit of air helps keep the cylindrical shape. A little bit of air inflates it evenly, and now he can use the marver to straighten the sides. So I like to have really straight sides on this before he goes to flatten the bottom. One way you can do that is to roll it on the marver. Another way might be to use the blades of the jacks to straighten out the side. You could use the newspaper, but I imagine he'll use the jacks on it. And Foster will paddle the bottom at the same time. So they're teaming up on it. Josh is keeping the sides straight. Foster is flattening the bottom. That gives us a nice crisp 90-degree angle at the bottom, and you can see that. Is it dark green? Moldy beer.
St. Patty's beer.
Again on the marver to straighten the sides, get a nice even line on those. Look at that. Camera in one hand, paddle in the other. Hot dog. I'm not doing the funny. Okay.
I'll let it cool a little bit. And see
Yeah.
if we can-
Oh yeah, it's but it's not aventurine green. Oh yeah, let's take a little. Oh my goodness. Yep. There we go. Still going to be beautiful. All right, Josh will be taking another flash, warming the glass up in the glory hole. Foster has formed the punty.
And I usually don't trust if somebody writes one, I usually get a fresh bar.
Oh, okay.
Now I know.
Oh, this one said it was 19.
Yeah, it said it was 19. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, you can't trust those glass blowers.
Right?
Okay, places the putty into the center of the bottom. Now, if the pipe seems to jump up and down a little bit as he rolls it, he'll put pressure on the tweezers to recenter it. He's got it centered now, a drip of water, and then a tap on the pipe. The vibration travels to that jack line or neck line, and when it hits that point which has been cooled, it breaks free there. So the glass will break at the weakest point. So by flashing the piece and keeping the punty warm, the bottom was not weak. The neckline was. However, if the punty joint and the neckline are equally weak when you go to break it off, it releases at both places and you have a floor model. Again, something we try to minimize. All right, so we've got most of the bottom of this piece finished up. It's a matter of heating the upper reaches so that he can open the vessel to its final diameter, and then it'll be time to put a handle on. Take a last flash here in a moment to keep it warm, and now he's back to the bench. We'll go around to get a view here. Foster's going to paddle the bottom, or the lip rather, while Josh straightens it. Just give us a nice even line up here. Oh, Sharon Durney, if you're just now joining the show, have we got a nice surprise for you. I hadn't seen your name come up yet, but you are the winner this week of the green confetti mug. So I'm glad to know you were here. We'll go on back to what's going on with the glass. Again, Josh will work on opening the upper part of the vessel to its final diameter, getting a nice straight line. The paddle that Foster has on the lip area will help flatten that. And then after another reheat and a little bit of shaping, it'll be time to put a handle on it. Again, he can use the marver to straighten that side, get it nice and even. He gets the entire piece of glass in contact with the table and rolled. Now that metal is very cold, so he can't do that for very long. Well, you're welcome, Sharon. We're glad you showed up to find out that you'd won the drawing. We did not let you know anyway, even if you hadn't watched this week. Okay, so he's straightening the body now. Foster is flattening the lip. When they get that right where they want, it'll be time to put a handle on it. Josh will hand the piece off to Foster, who will flash it. That'll be to keep just enough heat in it to keep from breaking. Josh will take a gather from the furnace, and this will be the handle. So he'll roll that on the marver a couple of times, but very careful not to suck all the heat out of it. He's very light on his touch with the marver, and he doesn't stay there for a really long time. He comes back over, takes his diamond shears, grabs the pipe with the shears, and guides the handle into place. After he cuts it, Foster will flip it 180 degrees. The handle will be hanging straight down. Josh will bring it up, touch the body, but not all the way to the top. He does it to where it'll leave him room. Now watch how he presses upward with the carbon bar. That pushes the handle. When he spins it like that, the centrifugal force opens it up away from the body. Now he's got a nice contact point at the top and a beautiful curvature to the handle there. That's more than 20 ounces, Ramiro. He's using this carbon bar. It doesn't take as much heat as a metal tool would take from the glass. Allows him to shape it. Once he's done with that, we'll take it off of there, and Foster will have it in the annealer. A little bit of water right into the putty joint, a tap of the pipe, and off it comes. And into the annealer it goes. Yes, it is. It's a tall drink of beer. Great job, Josh.
Thank you.
Here for him. And Foster, wonderful day today, okay? And for some of you that may have tuned in late, Josh had the privilege today of making an anniversary gift. We had a couple. Can we get a shot of it? Is it far back? Okay. We'll see what they made. There it is. There's the Fiesta Bowl anniversary gift. So a gentleman named Jason, as a surprise for his wife Donna, ordered a piece. She came in completely surprised, had never been here before, and was told to select any style piece she wanted and the colors. And this is very similar to the one you just saw. So she picked the Fiesta Bowl with the ruffled ridges. So we did that first. We did decanters. We also did one on a YouTube video this morning. We did a flask, which came out really nice, and as David suggested, reminded us of Van Gogh's Starry Night. We did stemless wine glass, and you just saw the beer mug. So be sure and join us next week when eventually